Good Sam is by far probably the best avenue for marketing right now with the RVers.
I would think you'd be reaching out to the younger people more, which is where you want to go.
That would be with the online.
Right. Exactly.
But our RV park is not conducive to young people because we do not have a playground. We don't have anything like that. So therefore,
But they can go down the pool.
they can go down to the pool. So,
Red bikes.
yeah. And there's a lot of pros and cons. It's not an area I'm an expertise in. I'm a motel person or a hotel person. So, but I do know, you know, as I've looked it up, Good Sam is the way to go. Now, the first presentations they gave me were $9,000. And there were just a lot of pluses and minuses that didn't make much difference. So basically, we're going the bare minimum, whether we want it in print or we want it strictly online. And it's about $1,000 difference, which is a payment plan of about $1,000 a month.
I just spent 2 weeks on the road, and my phone was invaluable to me and to all my family. And everything we wanted and needed was located right on the phone. And it seems to me that the print part, I know that in several places we stopped, it's a lot of bulky stuff. You have to thumb through it. You got to sit down. You have, it just causes one to have to expend more energy. I think it's a great idea. I think we should consider the online option.
Well, I think, you know, we're investing in something we've never invested in before. It would be a good idea to see just exactly what kind of a return we get.
And what portion of our revenue that comes through Good Sam do we give up?
It has not been established yet. I mean, none of it we're going to give up. I mean, we'll set a rate for them. Basically, it's going to be a little bit above our member rate, which is 20% discount.
And this amount is once a year?
Once a year, yes.
It may vary next year, depends.
Just like our rates, I'm sure it could.
Thank you.
When people check in, is it valuable to you to have the staff ask the question, and how did you find us?
Well, we'll be doing that no matter what on all of our reservations with ProTel. It's not information we have now, but anytime you're doing reservations for either hotel or RV parks, that would be one of your major questions, where that reservation's coming from.
Does this list our campsite as well, or just?
Yes, no, it will not.
It will not.
No.
We have a motion. Any other questions, comments, questions from the?
Well, belong to Good Sam. A lot of the stores have stacks catalogs like that. So if you talk with them to do the print, ask them for 2 or 3 catalogs to put where they check in at the RV park. And then ask your RVers, grab a couple of catalogs when you're in there and leave them at the check-in place, rather than spend all the extra money.
Yeah.
They're a dime a dozen. Any RVer can, when they go in the store to do something, next
Well,
time I'm in Iowa, I'll get a bunch.
My problem with giving them a catalog if we're not in it.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna just use it, they'll find the campground online, but
Right.
if they need a catalog to look through something real quick. They aren't gonna look to see if we're gonna in it, they're looking for something,
Correct.
just as a money-saving idea.
I think it's a good marketing thing to do to start. We gotta move on.
We have a motion.
I'd just like to put in that when, I know I'm old, but the brochures, the BRAC brochures, I remember picking them up for Alamo Village, for Fort Park as a kid, and if you go into places like Plaza Museum of Wax in San Antonio, even to this day, they have a trifold brochure that advertises Wonder World, that advertises Schlitterbahn. Even if we're not going to create or use the brochure for Good Sam, I think it's still a good thing to do and reach out to like Phillips Entertainment at Plaza Museum of Wax and see if we can put some brochures there.
Well, the one thing we've done, and what I found here, you have a whole lot of marketing collateral here at Fort Clark. None of it's been done lately. Brochures are very, very expensive, especially the ones you have here, which are 3 to 4 or 5 pages, up to 6 pages, fold out pages. Basically, the rack card is the way to go. And the rack cards need to be simple. They need to get the point across, sort of like our billboard out there, and basically direct people to our website. And that's it. It's just to get their interest. They pick up the one card. It needs to go to the welcome centers. It needs to go to your hunting centers like that, or you take them to RV shops. But we do not need to be spending all our money on 5 different cards. And that's what we've got. We've got tons of inventory that right now, that's a very expensive proposition to do that kind of marketing. So we need to direct people as simply as we can to our website and make sure our website's upgraded.
I make a motion that we accept the Good Sam starter bundle as indicated by Mr. Peterson.
Just add to that the price we're gonna pay is $2,895.
Right.
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. One more item, Lossmore Spring Conservation Association. So there was some documentation provided. I'll read you the summary that was provided by the Conservation Association. The Lossmore Springs Conservation Association is a nonprofit intended to be created for the purpose of creating a separate tax-exempt body for receiving donations intended to support the health and the well-being of Lossmore Springs. Initial and ongoing funding will be made by the Conley family. However, the hope is that with time, others will be interested in supporting the spring and will have a common place to contribute funds, if able, that will support and protect the spring system. The initial project for the Conservation Association is to install and maintain a digital sign that gives information on the spring, such as flow rate and with historical data. With time, as more resources become available, the Conservation Association would like to look for more ways to support the spring as needed and to help the community more easily receive information on the spring's condition and health. So the proposal here is that the Conservation Association would lease a small piece of land across from the Stripes gas station, where it'd be visible to the corner of Ann and Highway 90, the gas station while people are there, since that's a common ground, to display information about the spring health. The sign and the installation would be paid for by the Conservation Association. The only caveat to that in the lease is that they must, one, pay the meter, maintain the sign, and then the only information that would be able to go on there is information about the spring, and that's how it's currently constructed. So I'm sure there will be many questions about this, so I'll open that up now.
You're talking on Fort Land across.
Inside of our fence.
Right, okay. And who is running this? The Conley family?
So they have started the organization and hope to add people as they go.
This is relatively new.
Very new.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is Chris Halen called. He wasn't familiar with it.
Correct.
Okay. And it would be a permanent installation?
Yes, there's a
I didn't get,
mock-up.
I don't have one of those. That's why
It's
I'm
in
asking all these questions.
I just gave you this one.
It might be behind the executive session, because mine was behind the executive session.
Travis,
I got
so
it.
your
Yeah,
understanding
sorry.
is they'll control the monies, they'll maintain the whole thing, they'll pay the electricity, everything.
Yes.
If it blows down, they'll pull it back up.
Yes, I mean, and that's what we need to understand from this lease. There's a couple of documents here that give the location. There's a, you see the street view.
On the lease, are they allowed to sell advertising for the LED sign?
No.
Okay.
Travis,
Yes, sir.
one question that I had is where is the data coming from? If you go to Linda Park, you're getting spring rate flow from Texas Parks and Wildlife every day. They don't have a place at Fort Clark, so how are they gonna get that spring flow data every day?
That's a good question. I think it's something that we should outline in the lease requirements as to where the data would come from.
I'm assuming the water board.
I like the idea, and I like the idea of a nonprofit for spring conservation. I'd even like to see it go someday to where we get effluent water from the wastewater plant to water yards. I mean, that would be nice to help protect the spring instead of using fresh water, but I just have some questions right now.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, when I spoke with a representative from the organization, there was a very strong understanding that this is new and that there's going to be a lot of questions and that this isn't something that most likely will get done, you know, today. So this is kind of to open up the questions and get everyone on the same page around what's going on, because there are a lot of interested parties here.
You think they'd be interested in coming and giving a workshop, full
That's what I
explanation
was
to the
gonna say.
membership?
Yeah.
Workshop.
I was just gonna say too, why don't we have someone come in and talk to us about it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
we can
idea.
make a better decision.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes,
I'd like to know more about the association. How is it constructed? Is it a 501c3? All of that?
yes, and that was briefly touched on in the summary, but I think it would be appropriate for them to come and give a presentation outright so that all those questions can
Have they indicated how quickly they want to move on this? Just starting the process.
As far as, you know, putting stuff in, it's all going to depend on, you know, this is a rather large sign. I mean, the dimensions are approximately 4 by 8 feet for the digital sign. So, you know, there's going to be, you know, once it's ordered, I don't believe that these signs are just sitting on the
Oh,
shelf.
yeah.
So,
They're also gonna have to delay getting electricity too.
there's a drop pole.
I know, but I mean, to get this,
Right,
to
right.
get it hooked up is what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, this is not going to be by any means a short process.
What is a CFS? What is that?
Where
Cubic feet
It
per
says
second.
current flow is 10
Cubic
CFS.
feet per second.
Okay, I never would have guessed that.
If I'm not mistaken, the water board people measure every day, if I'm not mistaken,
Should be.
the amount of water we have. I learned that from Stan Metcalf.
Well, Stan Conway's on the water board, so
Okay.
we've had access to it.
And there's several state sites that if you really get in there and start digging, you can find all this information.
I
It's
think
just
it'd be
not.
extremely interesting to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea here in my conversations with the association were about really trying to educate people around the health of the spring and kind of slow down some of the rumor mill and help people understand like what it is going on. You know, one of the big things that I hear constantly is, oh, it rained here, that's great for the spring. That doesn't mean a whole lot for the spring, right? So, you know, if people were able to see that and see the change, you know, when we get water, you know, when we get rain north of here, to see different things change in stats, you know, just help people further understand how important and how delicate really the spring is. I mean, because you can really see the changes in some of the information if you watch it close enough. So I will take this as an item to reach back out to the Conservation Association and ask them to come and present something. And I don't think there's anything to do on this, you know, no motion made or anything. We'll just reach back out to them and ask them to come join us. And now that everyone has this information, please take a look at it.
I would prefer to be outside the meeting and have a workshop maybe on a Saturday at the NCO club. That would be ideal, that way everybody will know about it ahead of time and
They
there'll
can
be
get
ample
up and say
space.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Do we have any announcements?
Would you have to have a motion to table that because it is an action item? Table it for further information?
We can do that.
Because it's listed as an action item, I make a motion to table to get more information.
Second.
Second, motion.
All in favor? Any announcements? Yes, sir.
I do have one request. I was here several months ago concerning a work order that I submitted for the culverts located on Pecan Road and Oak Lane. I haven't heard anything back. And subsequent to that, I made another request and the same thing. There's no response. There's no update. Is there any way I could get an update? And it's really serious for our neighborhood. And the reason why is this: when we get the big rains, the culverts flood. We can't get in and out. You know, if an emergency vehicle needs to go into our neighborhood, they can't get in, and we can't get out of there. So we need to do something.
Yes, sir. Was the culvert installed by the Ford or by the utility district?
It was installed a long time ago. It's been there a long time ago. And you know what? It's clogged. It's filled in with, it's packed with dirt. I don't know what needs to be done. Either they need to be cleaned out or maybe put dirt in there in the whole ponding area. But we do have a problem because we can't get in and out. Last time it happened was 6 years ago, and it happens like every 6 years. And you know what? We're due for another one. It happens all the time. I know there's some members here who've seen that, they're aware of it. You need to help us.
What's the address? Because, I mean, I've been out there, I couldn't find
Pecan Road.
the culvert that you were talking about.
Well, there's a bridge right there, there's rails, that's one of
Okay.
them. There's another one at the other end where there's like a back road that.
Because the one area I was thinking, there was no culvert there.
There is culverts there, I can show it to you.
Okay.
I believe that's what he's asking.
And now,
He thought they
that's
were.
a different area than what I was thinking, because that's not on Con Road, it's on the left-hand side of it. We'll look at it
It's
again.
on the road itself.
Yeah, we'll
Well,
look at it
there's
again.
rails.
We
There's
thought you were
rails right there.
talking going into the Oaks,
No,
which is not,
the
it's on
backside
Pecan
of
Road,
Pecan
so we were
Road.
looking at the wrong culvert.
Yeah. But I mean, you got, because I mean, this is a safety concern for the residents there. You need to help us.
I completely understand your concern, and like I said, we looked in one area, this is an operational sort of issue. Our directive is to Mr. Peterson and to all of his staff is to always consider the safety of our members, and so, apparently we looked in
We
one
looked
area.
in the wrong place.
Right, and we'll take a look at where it is.
Well, just to let you know, I've been doing these work orders now for the past 6, 7 years, and you know what? I haven't heard anything back.
Yes, sir, as you
It's
heard
the
in
same
Mr.
old-
Well,
Peterson.
I think I just explained that. I mean, you said last time that it caused a problem getting into the Oaks. So we originally looked at the entrance of the the Oaks, at that low part. That doesn't have a culvert to it.
The reason why that low area that's concreted in, it gets flooded, because there's about this much water. In the
But it was
backside,
not at the entrance to the Oak, was what we thought you were talking
it
about.
goes down.
That's at the very back of the Oaks.
It's not in.
It's up in
obviously
Conroe.
the back.
Yeah,
What's happening
which is the very back of the
Yeah,
Oaks.
but
We'll look at it.
But the problem we're having is at the front, where the road kind of dips, is concrete. Well, when we get the big floods, it floods with about this much of rain.
Right, but
Right there.
we were looking at the front of the Oaks where the low spot is. And there is no culvert there. That's why we were confused. So now that I know a little bit more what you're talking about, we'll go back and look at that.
Great, we really appreciate it, sir.
The second one is over there off that road,
There are two
people
places
should
that
take a shortcut to the
Yeah.
Oaks.
Yeah, and that one right there, when we get a lot of rain, it's all mud. You can't get through there, it gets flooded too. So I mean,
when they're
I've
not
seen men out
supposed to
there
go
with
through.
boots
Yeah,
on.
is it an actual
It's not a road.
road, or is it somewhere that people have driven through with their ATVs and?
yes.
That's a road that goes.
Okay, so.
It's
I
not
mean,
a designated road.
can't.
It's not a designated road, it's not
Okay.
paved.
It's a green
But
area.
there is a culvert about this big and it's clogged, you can see it. And you can see both of them very clearly.
Well, we will take a look at it.
Thank you.
Probably would be a mud thing.
So if we can take a look at it, and if we determine that it's a mud thing, then we will forward it over to mud, and also, we'll announce that, look, I mean, we've got two separate entities, and unfortunately, as you've seen with our other item here on the wastewater treatment plant, we hold very little authority when it comes to the utility district. But we will do everything we can to
We
bring.
understand, I mean, if it goes to the proper authority and they fix the problem, they resolve the problem, we're happy. One thing we want to do is we want to mitigate that risk to the neighborhood, to the senior citizens that live in our neighborhood. We're just like every other unit in this board. We just want to make sure we take care of our people. And right now, we're not doing a very good job.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, sir.
Any other items?
I have one question for Mr. Peterson. Taxes are almost coming. Are we ready to pay the taxes on time?
We pay taxes on time every year.
Okay. But we're ready for it. There ain't gonna be an issue. Everything's gonna go, we're gonna go get the discount and everything else.
Yep, everything's done, everything's been applied for historical. That's all been approved. All we're doing is waiting for our tax.
Okay, thank you.
And you only get the discount if you pay them. I mean, it's not like
Right.
we're waiting for them to get that to us.
All right, anything else? No? All right, we'll adjourn into.
Wait, I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
On the Reveille and, the taps, could you look and see or ask questions about, we won't hear that out where I live. Is there any way they can get the sound out there? We
Big
don't hear
speakers.
the noon siren.
Really?
As far as I can remember, the only place that the sound was heard was at the big flag. There was a speaker on a pole out there or something, and somebody, because it was recorded, somebody would start the recording, and that was it. There was no people standing out there saluting or anything like that. It was just like the 12 o'clock noon siren. There's no pomp and circumstances about what goes on. It just goes off.
We can look into where the sound would come from.
And the name of the accounting firm,
I have to-
and
Melinda Krasinski's the one I'm talking to.
Melinda Kaczynski.
Coleman, Horton and Company.
Okay. And the state biologist, is she going to have,
She is doing an article for the dispatch, so it will be a little bit more interesting, and she'll tell what she's doing. And-
but will she have regular hours?
I don't know, because I think she's out in the field a lot. It's when she is called, when the animals are killed or whatever else, that they have to be checking for sicknesses and stuff like that, so she's out in the field.
The dispatch article will give her phone number and her email, so if anyone wants to talk with her, they'd be able to set up a time with her.
Yeah, I'm sort of hesitant to give out too much information. I want her to give out what she wants out there, so that's what
It'll
I'll.
be in the Port Clark Dispatch in September.
And I want to ask you a question.
All right.
I have one more thing.
Yes.
In regard, for the membership, we are in need of more volunteers for the recycle center. And for Mr. Knoll over there at the museum. So if anyone's interested in volunteering your time and energies for either the museum or recycle center, let us know. Let the front office know. Thank you.
Anything else? right, we'll now turn into executive session. It is 10:22. Mr. Money, I will take this stream into the executive session. If it cuts out, we'll be right back with you.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Do y'all need architecture? Do y'all need architecture?
Right now, we got a memo from interoffice memo saying that there's nothing before right now. That's why they didn't do it.
So you don't need us?
Not right now.
Okay.
I think they have to be some things that have to be gone over between managers and the architect committee. There seems to be some kind of stuff going on there. I'm not into it all.